Okay, so there's this NLP training up in May, and I want to. NLP has been around for 40 plus years now, and there's a lot of difference out there in the marketplace when people hold themselves out as practitioners or as trainers. And so, first, I just want to tell you about the original split, which I will just call the Sith side and the Jedi side, or the dark and the balanced side, or the light side. And I can tell you the difference between the two simply by saying how they relate to change work. The Jedi side, we work with a client. And then the Sith side, they teach you how to work on a client. Usually the trainings involving the two, if you want to become an NLP Jedi, usually that takes much longer. Not because there are more training days, but because they're spaced out so that you can actually integrate and embody the work. The Sith side, which is, we could get into who that split was, but, John Grinder and Richard Bandler, the Richard Bandler lineage, in my opinion, there's a lot of unethical things that have sprouted out from that part of the lineage. John Grinder, and NLP Comprehensive, who I was, of course, originally trained by back in 1994, 1995, through NLP California. They, like the certificates, and I borrowed some of this language from them, the certificates actually say that the practitioner demonstrated respect for the ecology of the being. And that's how we approach it. So what is ethics when it comes to NLP? Because they're very powerful tools of influence. And, I was very fortunate that I was trained by people who had a background in family therapy and psychotherapy. And so they were more interested in the healing aspects. Now, there was also a few corporate trainers who were involved in my trainings, and they were fantastic, but they also had a deep sense of ethics. And they really cared about who they were working with. And so that distinction, like on versus with, and that will trail through, and that's the common thread, even when it comes to manipulation. So here's my definition of ethics with NLP. And it took me a long time to develop this definition, but it's also very short. The ethical use of NLP and tools of influence in general it's ethical if you are using it in service of someone else's outcomes with their permission. That's it. If you're using it in service of your own outcomes and they are unaware of it, that's unethical. It's very straightforward. So I do cover ethics in the first weekend of the NLP training coming up in May. That's about as long as I swim on. And of course, there are other ways to apply that, because we want to make sure you're embodying that. The ethical use of powerful tools of influence is if you're in service of someone else's outcome with their permission, which could be a client agreement, could be explicit permission in the moment. Hey, do you want to change this? Could be simply getting their consent. That's all it is. It's really straightforward. The other really true benefit of taking a course like neurolinguistic programming, or the training I'm putting on, is it gives you so much insight into how we're actually influencing each other all the time unconsciously. And so you'll learn to not do that. You don't realize you're actually influencing people, manipulating people by certain things you say or certain ways you're behaving. So you actually become much more clean in the way that you're interacting with people, and you get to use those tools much more judiciously. So you get to inoculate yourself against being influenced or manipulated. I remember the first time I came home from a hypnotic language training weekend, and I realized how many. This is one of the reasons I shut off television so many years ago. Like all the influential aspects of commercial advertising, all the manipulation tactics, all the anchoring in NLP, all the like. If you've ever seen a TV commercial where it has absolutely nothing to do with the product, the music moved you, or certain aspects of the thing were exciting to you, and then they show the product. It's anchoring, so you get to not only have wisdom around what's happening and inoculate yourself against being manipulated, but you also get to use those, like the ways in which you are unconsciously manipulating people. You can stop that, and you can learn to much more ethically and much more judiciously use these tools of influence consciously. So we spent a whole weekend on language patterns, and hypnotic language and quantum linguistics, as well as the meta model, and quantum linguistics. We spent a whole weekend on that. Not enough time, but that's one of the reasons that there is a full month in between each of the training weekends. Nothing makes me cringe more than if somebody goes, "Oh, well, I heard about NLP, so when I checked out a practitioner," and I sort of go, "Oh, gosh," because I don't know how that's going to go. It's kind of like, well, I heard about mechanics, so I want to go, go down to this local garage, and you just never know. You never know who they were trained by. You never know what their sense of ethics is. And you don't know how good they are. I mean, I've heard horror stories from clients about people using NLP. So one of the things you get in this training is not only a deep sense of how to demonstrate respect for the ecology of the being in front of you, but also, just a general sense of how to use it in service of others, which should always be the focus. It should always be the focus. So again, it's either in the comments or up, depending on which platform you see this video on. Feel free to message me about how, whether or not the training will be a fit for you. It's a 7-month training. If you're coaching, you're not NLP trained, then you are cheating your clients, basically, because you're spending weeks on things you could solve in 1 hour. And then you can deal with more interesting, more complex, more fun challenges for them, but you can get through the stuff that you keep battling against. And I'll just say this now. There's no such thing as resistant clients. There's just practitioners or coaches who don't have enough skill to navigate those with their clients.